Hello there. The political crisis paralyzes Northern Ireland. There is no government, and London and Belfast blame each other. A new election should bring the way out, only no date is known yet. So Northern Ireland faces an uncertain future after failed efforts to form a new government. As the newspaper Belfast Telegraph reported on Sunday, the Protestant militia UVF, the Ulster Voluntary Force, wants to review the basis for their announced ceasefire. Like other paramilitary groups I call terrorists, including those of the Catholic opponents, the terrorist group laid down their arms years ago, but is still active in drug trafficking, for example, so terrorists and criminals. In Northern Ireland, Protestants who want to remain with Britain and Catholics who want reunification with the Republic of Ireland had been fighting each other for decades. More than 3,500 people died in the conflict. The Civil War ended in 1998 with the so-called Good Friday Agreement. It provides for the strongest parties from both camps to form a government together. However, all talks about this in the past few months have failed. To this day, the Protestant DUP refuses to cooperate with the Catholic Sinn Féin, which emerged as the strongest party in the recent elections in May. As an ultimatum, the DUP demands the lifting of special Brexit rules for Northern Ireland, which the UK and the EU had agreed on, but that's just a smokescreen, believe me. Because there was no agreement by the end of the deadline on Friday, the British government now wants to call a new election. So far, however, there is no date for this. And politicians from both camps criticised the decision of the British Minister for Northern Ireland, Chris Heaton-Harris. Sinn Féin Vice Leader Michelle O'Neill accused him of a bizarre turnaround or U-turn. DUP Chief Jeffrey Donaldson said London needed to focus on a solution rather than a zigzag course. And Ireland's Prime Minister, the Taoiseach Micheál Martin, called for the democratic institutions to be restored first. And there is currently no government in office, and the regional parliament is not functional. The central government, for its part, threatened MPs with a cut in their salaries. Many people are frustrated with the rising cost of living that MPs are not working but continue to receive full pay, said Northern Ireland Minister Heaton-Harris. And I know after this video a lot of you will once again complain that I still talk about the Protestants and the Catholics. But first of all, that was the root of the whole thing. And if you explain it to someone here in Germany, for example, they always will talk about the Protestants and the Catholics because that's the core where it came from. And it's the easiest to explain. And that's the foundation of the whole thing. The Irish are mostly Catholic, or the most existing religion there is Catholic. And in Britain, they are Protestants with the most appearing religion there. Of course, there are a lot of atheists and whatever, but still, that is what we have there on both sides. Of course, there are a lot of people pro-reunification of Ireland that are not Catholics. And there are probably people that are pro being united with the United Kingdom or with Great Britain that are no Protestants. But that is still the core of the whole thing. And the other thing is the problems that the DUP is bringing up. I mean, everybody is rightly writing this in the comments over and over again. Jeffrey Donaldson still claims that the Earth is 6,000 years old and that dinosaurs and men were living at the same time. Uwe, I guess it was you that brought up the thing that he believes that the Flintstones are a documentary because that's the way he's imagining the start of the world after God created it. And there's quite a fitting comparison, by the way. What do you want to tell people like that? And the whole Brexit fuss, of course, is a smokescreen. They wanted to have Brexit. They wanted a hard border with Ireland. They want the North to seal off from everything but Britain so that they can make sure that they stay with Britain. But that's not the core problem here. The core problem is that the Unionists do realize that an Irish reunification is getting closer and closer. And with the numbers of births in families that are pro reunification, and the majority is on the side of reunification now. We don't have a border poll yet, but there will be a day where this will come. And it's most probable that that border poll would decide pro reunification. And that is what they're afraid of. But one thing we still must not forget, it's a long and complicated history. But the north of Ireland is not in the legal sense by the agreements and the United Nations and stuff like that, but just if you want to talk frankly about it, it still is occupied territory. That is Ireland. And there are more and more people that do realize that they want to be one Ireland. There are a lot of people that don't want to see the truth now. There are a lot of people, the terrorists I was talking about, and there were terrorists on both sides, I know that. But the ones making real fuss at the moment are the terrorists on the Protestant side. And they will not want to realize this. And I know if we get to a reunification, the troubles will not be over. There will always be, for, I don't know, many years, people that will fight it, that will commit acts of violence, that will kill people most probably. But because of Brexit, everything broke out again. The unionists always blame the EU and Ireland for everything. What you have to blame for the rising tensions is just Brexit. Without Brexit, we wouldn't have a problem at all. Everything was open there. There were no checks at all of anything except coming in from outside the EU. But it was easy to keep up the Good Friday Agreement while the UK and Ireland both were in the EU. And of course, the most reasonable solution for this, which as a member as a citizen of an EU member would not really want at the moment, to be honest, is the whole UK being in the customs union and the single market. But that won't happen. Not with, especially not with this government, but with all those hardliners, right-wingers, and whatever in the British government, and behind the British government, which is far more important, and people that have their fantasy empire still in their heads, and the people who just want to make a lot of money, like the friends of this current government do. Even when the pound plummeted, they made probably millions out of it. But that solution won't happen. And so the Northern Ireland Protocol was the only reasonable solution to do that. And the DUP is blowing up their smoke screen all the time. We're talking about checks on goods in the Irish Sea. No person is affected when traveling. Everybody from Northern Ireland can go to the rest of the United Kingdom without any problem. We're just talking about the checks of goods. And the EU offered a lot of options within the protocol to reduce 80% of those checks. But the UK government always blocked. The government in London didn't want this. So they shouldn't talk about, we always want a negotiated solution. No, what they want is once again have the cake and eat it. And they promised the DUP unicorns from the start and probably will continue to do so. But it is not possible to get anything else, and it won't happen. So you can't have the cake and eat it. They must have learned it by now over Brexit, but still want to publicly admit that the whole thing was the greatest crap in history. But the same will be with the Northern Ireland Protocol. If they scrap the Northern Ireland Protocol, there will be a trade war with the EU. And imagine who gets hit harder if that happens. And then think what will happen on the Irish island and with violence. And there's only one side to blame for this, and that's the people voting for Brexit. Oh, and somebody said yesterday again, the people in the UK voted for Brexit. No, only the majority of the English voted for Brexit. And I'm including Wales in this because Wales only voted pro-Brexit because of all the English living in Wales. And so, because there are so many English and the majority of the English voted for Brexit, we got Brexit. Not because the majority of the people of the UK voted for Brexit. I just had to make that one clear once again, because that is the basis for a lot of trouble internally in the UK at the moment that it happened the way I just put it. And I'll see you in the next video. I'll be back.